Hi, this is Ram Prasad. I'm a Microsoft developer working primarily on Office 365, SharePoint, and Azure. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we can enable a custom list view command set on a specific SharePoint list. So let's see how we can do it. So I have opened my Node.js command prompt, and I'll be using the UMN generator to create a new SharePoint framework solution. Um, This should list down the list of generators I have installed, and I choose Microsoft slash SharePoint. And then the solution name, I'll provide it as custom command sets. And I'll use a subfolder for creating the solution. And I'm not going to do a tenant deployment, so I select no, no web APIs will be used, so no. Then this is an extension, a list view command set, and my command set name would be just custom command. I leave the description as is, so this could take a little while for the solution to get created. So the solution got created and I just opened it in Visual Studio Code using the command code space dot. And this is my the default SharePoint framework solution with the list view command set as the application customizer. So if you go to the source folder in the extensions, I can see this is the command name I have given. It's a custom command, and here goes my code for showing the sample command set. So this is nothing complex. This is coming from the default template itself. This has two commands which are called command 1 and command 2, which are showing just a simple alert messages, and one of the command is set to be visible only when one of the item is selected. So that's about the functionality of this default command set. And if we go ahead and look at the solution and try to understand how this works. So we go to this config folder and serve.json, where we change the page URL to the SharePoint site URL from our tenant. Then we can, once that change is made, you can use gulp serve to do a debug and see how your command set is behaving before we package and deploy it. And let's quickly go into the package and see what is being packaged in the solution. So if we see a feature is getting added into the package, which is asked to install or provision the assets coming from the elements.xml file. That's pretty much it in the package JSON file. Let's see what is there in the assets file. There is this elements.xml which says install a custom action or deploy a custom action on our site, where it is set to be on the registration type of a list, and the list ID we have chosen is 100, which is the ID for custom lists or generic lists. And we can also see that the location of this custom command set is set to be shown in the command bar. Right. So people who are coming from the on-premise world, the SharePoint on-premise world, we used to do similar user custom actions where we can set the registration type to be content type, and we could have given the GUID of the content type here. So this would have eventually installed or deployed the command set on the content type, and we can associate the content type to one specific list where we want. But this is not working with the SharePoint framework deployment pipeline. So let me revert back to the default value. So it will be list and 100. So that is about the elements.xml file, and this client-side instance.xml. This is usually used to make the extension entry into the tenant-wide extensions list in the app catalog. So this will be used only when we do a tenant-wide deployment, but in our case, we are not doing it, so this is not required. So that's about the solution. There is nothing complex, the default solution. And once we install or add this package to a site, this will definitely show the command set and the commands in all the lists which are created using a custom list template or the generic list template. But I'm not going to do that. So because in this video we are going to see how to show the command set on a specific list. So for that, what I'm going to do is let's assume because there is already a selection criteria being a logic for selection criteria being done in this command on list view updated. This method is something which gets called whenever an item is selected in the list or there is any update in the view. So here, let's assume that for time being, I'll assume that I have a variable which is called enabled within this class. So I say if this dot enabled, we'll see in a while how to populate this variable or how to get this variable set to a correct value. So when I say if this dot enable, that means I would be showing the command set in the list. So I'll just copy the default code into my if condition, and when the enable flag is false in the else statement, I would just let me move this outside so that I can use it in the else part also, and I'll also create an instance for the second command set as well. Let's call it command compare to command, and this will become underscore two. So in the else part, what I'll be doing is very simple. I'll say compare one command dot visible equal to compare two command dot visible. Basically, I'll hide both the command sets when this flag is false. So that's the code which I'm going to update in onListView updated. That's pretty much it. So let's declare the private the variable which I am using this dot enabled will it'll be a boolean type. And now how do we update this variable? So the idea I had in mind was so there are many blog posts, many workarounds where people have checked for the list title or a content type ID here itself in this on list view command. So they'll make a REST API call to the current list and get its title or the ID and content type IDs, and then do a checking if it's of a certain title or a certain content type. So that way, the disadvantage which I saw in that approach is when you put a REST call here, for every interaction on your list view, basically selecting or unselecting a list item, you're making a REST call, which is not really required. And the second being, whenever you hardcode the list title here and later point of time, when you want to show the command set on a different list, you have to change your SharePoint framework solution with a new title and update your package. So that kind of a solution is not really extensible. So what I'm going to do is rather I'll create a helper method. So what we'll do is we'll also do a similar approach, but instead of hard coding the ID within the code, within the SharePoint framework solution itself, what we can do is we'll store the list of GUIDs within the property bag of the SharePoint site, and then we can see if the current list GUID is present within this property bag, and only then we'll show the command set. If the list GUID is not present, we will not show the command set. So to do this logic, I have written a helper method already, so I'm not going to type the code now. So I'll just paste it from elsewhere, which I already done it. So this is very simple. This is called is command set enabled, and here I'm using the PNP.js. So you see errors because I haven't already installed the dependencies for PNP.js. Let's quickly do that. So I'll switch back to my Node.js command prompt. I'll say npm I /sp and install all the dependencies required. So yes, the dependencies got installed. So let's quickly switch back to Visual Studio and include the import statement for the PNP.js. So that gets my errors resolved. So what am I doing in this helper method is very simple. So I'm just calling the current web's all properties, which is the property bag of the web, expanding it. And once I get the properties, then I make another call, which is trying to get the current list. So I use the page context dot list dot server related URL, and I select the ID, which is the GUID of this list. And what am I doing here is I'm reading the property bag with this key, which is SPFX command set lists, and then I'm converting that value into a string and then splitting it based on comma as a delimiter. So this will give me an array of GUIDs, and then I'm just trying to find out if the current list GUID is present in this array. If it is present, this will be true. If it is not present, this will be false. So this has set our this dot enable flag, and which we are using in the on list view updated to show or hide the command sets. So that's pretty much about the helper method. So one important thing which I missed here is the page context. It's always advised we set up the SharePoint framework context. Sorry, the context for the PNP.js. So this is how we do it: SPFX context and this dot context. Right, so this will set the context for my PNP.js. This is not required, okay. And then where do we call this method? So as I said, the biggest disadvantage of calling this entire code on onList view updated is for every interaction it gets called, which is not really required. So instead, we'll just call this method only when the command set component initializes. So if you see in the on init, there is a dummy promise being resolved. So here I'll just return my helper method which gets executed during the initialization time of the command set, and this flag is set. And going forward, we can use this flag for showing the command set or not within a specific list. So that's about the code. There is nothing else required. So I'll quickly save this code and switch back to the command prompt, and let's say gulp bundle hyphen hyphen ship. This will bundle the solution. So this could take a little while, so I'll just skip the video. So the solution is bundled. Now I use package solution to package the SharePoint framework solution into an app package file. So once this package is created, I'll be using PNP PowerShell to add this app into the app catalog and installing it into the current site. So for those of you who are not aware what is PNP PowerShell, it's a PowerShell module which uses CSOM and REST APIs to to interact with SharePoint. So this is part of the PNP community, which is created by the PNP guys, and let's see how it works. So you let's basically you have to connect your PNP PowerShell to a specific SharePoint site. So in my case, I've already connected to my SharePoint site. So let's use one of the PNP commandlet, which is get PNP site to see if I'm really connected to the site. Yes. So I'm connected to this SharePoint site. Yeah. So let's use add PNP app. So this is the commandlet which is used to upload the app to the app catalog site. So by default, it gets uploaded into the app catalog when we don't specify any scope. And I use a parameter called hyphen publish. So what this commandlet will do is it will upload this package, and the hyphen publish parameter tells the commandlet to also deploy the app once it's uploaded. So it could take a couple of seconds. Yeah, so this is deployed. So it will also give us the ID of the app, and it says deployed true. Now let's use install PNP app command, which again takes the identity, which is the GUID of the app. I get it from the previous command, so I just paste it here. That's it. So this should install the app in my SharePoint site collection, which I've connected to using PNP PowerShell. So let's go back to the SharePoint site and see if the app is installed. So I'm on the site contents page of my site collection. So once I refresh, I should see the app. Yes, it's installed. It's in. And then for this demo, I've created two lists, which is called cities and countries. Both are based on generic list template. And if you remember, our package from the SharePoint Framework solution says that the command set should be installed on the generic list template instances. But in this case, even though the app is installed, we don't see the commandlet because of our custom code, which says that the command set and the command should be visible only when the list UID is present in the web's property bag. So let's see what is the property bag value for this key. So this is the key which we are using in our SharePoint framework solution. So I'll switch back to PNP PowerShell. Again, I say get PNP property bag, and then I can give the key. Uh, so the value is none, so which means the current command set will not be shown in any of the lists. So let's try to show the command set in the countries list. For this, I need to get the GUID of the countries list and then add that value into the property bag. So I'll say get PNP list, and then identity will be countries. And here I get the GUID, so I'll quickly copy it, and then I say set PNP property bag value and key, and value will be the GUID and key will be this. Right, so let's execute this. Great. So as you see, there is an error message here setting the property back. So I've done this intentionally because there's one quick tip for you guys. Setting the property bag doesn't work on modern sites like the way it used to work with the classic and on-premise sites. If you remember, there is a flag called no script flag, which is enabled by default on all the modern sites. For setting the property bag values of a SharePoint modern site, we have to disable this. So I usually use the SharePoint Online Management Shell, where we use connect-spo service command to connect to our tenant administrative site, and then I've already connected to it. So and then we use the set spo site command where we give the URL of the site collection or SharePoint site, and we say deny add and customize pages to false. So I'll just specify 0, which is false here. So this disables the no script flag on the SharePoint modern site. So once this is disabled, I run the same command again. Now I should be able to set the property bag. So let's quickly try to read the property bag and see if it is updated. Yes, now I can see the GUID of this list. I go back to the SharePoint list for the countries. I say refresh. Now I should see the command set in the countries list. There it is visible. So we have command 2 and the alert message is also shown. So and when I select an item, the command 1 also becomes visible and it also shows the alert message. And if we go back to the CTS list, which is also based on the same list template, the custom list, I don't see the command set because the GUID of this list is not present in the property bag. So if you want to add this list also into the property bag, we can just get the GUID of this, use a PNP PowerShell again, and add its value into this property bag collection separated by a comma. So that's how we can handle how to show a command set on a specified SharePoint list without really hard coding anything into the SharePoint framework solution. So I hope this video was useful for you guys. So these are my social media handles. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Thank you for watching and see you in another video.